I've said many times before that we were too slow to spot Russian interference, too slow to understand it, and too slow to get on top of it. And we've certainly stumbled along the way. But to suggest that we weren't interested in knowing the truth, or that we wanted to hide what we knew, or that we tried to prevent investigations is simply untrue.
Joining us right now is Jeff Sonnenfeld. He is the Senior Associate Dean for Leadership Studies at the Yale School of Management. And Jeff, your take on all of this?
My take on that is if Mark Zuckerberg has now joined the posse of those charging the New York Times as fake news, he's just done himself a major disservice. It's hard to imagine that somebody could create a worse headline for the New York Times than what they had yesterday. But his performance and Sheryl Sandberg's performance yesterday actually beats the band. They actually did worse in their response. I don't know if they were coached, if it's just temper tantrums, but that's outrageous. They've told us what meetings happened where and when. This is overt deception. The board was deceived. For over a year, the board didn't have the facts. So many tech CEOs, not to mention CEOs in other industries, were taken out of office for that alone. But we have these invasions of the election interference. We have the promotion of hate speech with a lot of the use of these Russian trolls, which apparently it looks like they knew about and suppressed. And when investigations were done, they tried to hush it up. Then on top of that, we have, of course, the repeat privacy invasions, which has been happening since at least 2011. This has had a huge impact on the brand. And frankly, this is high-tech hooliganism. This is outrageous, out of control.
Just to slow it down a little bit for anybody who didn't read the story yesterday from the New York Times, that Times story was based on interviews with over 50 people, many of whom spoke off the record because they were worried about retaliation or they had signed non-disclosure agreements. But I think it's a pretty complicated picture. While they may be right in the overall tone of what happened with it, I think it's difficult to say that either Sheryl or Mark knew specifically about some of the things that people have kind of made the jump, even from what the Times was reporting, to say that they knew. Obviously, they had hired this organization, this media organization in Washington that kind of did a lot of dirty tricks. The question was, did either Sheryl or Mark actually know about the things they were doing? And I'm not clear. I don't even think the Times laid out a direct line of contact between those things, just kind of showed you some of the things that were happening. You could ask the question, should they have known? But I think it's hard to say that they definitely did.
I think if you want to call this a criminal enterprise, that might be going too far. However, it's not too far to say that the one complaint you could make against the New York Times is there was so much information in there. They needed to give us a graphic chart. But it's all there. And I would disagree with you, Becky. I think the Times was very clear that in the spring of 2016, engineers of 2016, before the general election had even launched during the end of the primaries, we started to see that there was Russian interference in the elections, and Facebook engineers knew that. Now, Alex Stamos, who is the head of the Chief Information Security Officer, told senior people, the general counsel and others, by September of 2016, when we're just still in the general election right now, they knew about this, and they were investigating it and discouraged from investigating it in December of 2016. Right. This is all in the timeline when Mark Zuckerberg is denying there's any Russian interference. The company knew otherwise, and they told him so. So in January 2017, they issued a very misleading, understated memo that did not admit all that they knew then.
Jeff.